Let's talk about angels. Angels, angels, angels. This has definitely been one of the most highly requested topics that I speak on. And I'm really excited to be diving deep this month, almost long for the month of May on the Patreon. We are going to be talking about angels. We're going to be talking about angelic magic. We're going to be talking about how we can invoke angelic energy. We can invoke the archangels into our life, not only, for assistance in our magical workings, but for real change, for real actionable change and healing and evolving in our life. And I always work with something before I share it publicly. So last month, as we were working with Isis on the Patreon, I was also doing a lot of work with the angels, and the clearing has been intense. It's almost been some tower card energy, but it feels really good. I feel like I'm clearing things out. Also, my channel has never felt so clear. And so I don't want to get too into the weeds in the beginning of this video. We'll have plenty of time all month long to really dive into the topic. But I did want to spend today just briefly going over what angels are, how we can work with them, the hangups that we might have if we come from a religious background, and how we might reframe what angels are so that we can begin to work with them in a way that feels aligned and authentic for us. And we'll see what else that comes through. I will talk about the decks that I use when I work with angelic energy, but I'm not going to do that this video. I want to keep this a digestible length for you. And we'll talk about that sometime next week. Now, I think I probably will upload this talk so that it is accessible for the entire YouTube community. That's what I've been doing for the first video of the month on the Patreon. That way, if you haven't enrolled in the Patreon community and this topic really calls to you, you have the opportunity to join in. But for my Patreon members, and this is for my Patreon members only, if you would like, please send me a DM within 7 days. So I'm posting this on May 3rd. So between now and next Friday, please send me a DM via the Patreon messaging system and give me your consent. And what I will do is I will channel an angel or an archangel that wants to come in and work with you, and a small message of them, just kind of giving you some guidance and where they want to bring assistance in your life and guidance in your life. So that is totally optional. You don't have to participate in that, but I know that several of you have shared how helpful when we do these types of direct, you send me a message and I give you some guidance on the Patreon. We've done this a few times now. And the reason why I didn't open that up at the end of the month with Isis is so that we could have this opportunity right at the beginning to tap into angelic energy. Because we're not working with a specific goddess this month, because we're working with angels as a whole, this should help you really drop in and focus your energy on one angel if you want to, okay? Something else that I'm going to be doing the entire month long, and this is totally optional, is doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram every day. And this is something that I've already incorporated into my practice, and we'll speak about it more as the month progresses. So on the Patreon, I will be posting a video for that practice if you want to join me. Even if you don't want to do it every day, I find that personally, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is one of the most, if not the most effective exercise there is for cleansing the energy body, cleansing the aura of unwanted energies, and raising the vibration. So both of these invitations are optional, but I want to give them to you right at the beginning of the month. That way you can get the most out of this month experientially if it aligns for you. You're always welcome just to watch the videos and do nothing and support the Patreon. It's really whatever fits your journey the most. There is no one-size-all journey, okay? So let's talk about angels. A lot of people that are on an alternative spiritual path that grew up in religion feel a lot of aversion to angels, because if you grew up in, modern dogmatic Christianity, which many of us in the West did. As I have shared many times previously, I'm a pastor's daughter. I grew up in a very extreme evangelical church, borderline cult. It was very extreme, okay? So a lot of us that have these experiences of growing up in organized religion were a little triggered by the concept of angels and how they are presented, right? Alternatively, if we didn't grow up in alternative religion, but we come to spirituality with more of a stance of, I'm going to be discerning, I'm going to use my critical thinking, I'm not going to accept everything as truth, we can still have a hang up around angels, because in the New Age community, sometimes angels are presented as this la la, foo foo, woo woo thing. Think Doreen Virtue in, the early 90s with like her angel healing. Now, here's the thing. Doreen Virtue, she became, a totally dogmatic Christian. And so, everyone wants to hate on Doreen Virtue. I'm not totally opposed to everything that Doreen Virtue has to say, okay? I have a Doreen Virtue deck, and I use it sometimes. And I think that's my guide's way of keeping me humble, right? Because as much as I want to throw the baby out with the bathwater sometimes when it comes to New Age concepts, what Doreen Virtue was talking about was calling on the angels to assist us in our lives. So that's something we can actually do. So, angel Doreen Virtue is not totally wrong. Where a lot of those beliefs and systems in the New Age community fall flat is they're fully love and light. So there's no shadow work. There's no fundamental understanding and integration of the darkness. It's not trauma informed. Can be a very reductionist and limiting and immature and grandiose and narcissistic form of spirituality, right? But there's a lot of truths to be found in organized religion, and there's a lot of truths to be found in the New Age movement, okay? And angels are something that I have fundamentally come to believe as truth, despite my hangups with both of these ideologies and systems, right? And I think part of the left-hand path, for those of us who are serious about our spiritual journey, part of the work is really extracting and distilling the truth from all of the belief systems that we come across. Because all of us have something to teach us, even if they are not the whole truth, right? Now, what are angels? What are angels? So in organized religion, angels are taught as not being God themselves, but being messengers of God. In an organized religion, there is this belief of you don't need to worship an angel, don't worship angels, we only worship God, right? But angels are messengers of God. Angels are like these allies and assistants and record keepers of God that do come in and help us, but they aren't the ultimate source. So that's the view of what angels are in organized dogmatic religion. Okay, in the New Age ideology, angels are more seen as spiritual helpers and guides. So they're seen as these benevolent forms of light, and they're usually presented as looking like humans and being really soft and gentle and having all of these positive qualities of healing and protection and wisdom, and they keep us safe and they keep us on path, right? Now, I think there's a third way there's a third system in which we can learn about angels, and that is the system of the occult. Because it's so interesting to me that so many practitioners of alternative spirituality send me messages and they say, I have such a hard time really coming into a place of feeling good working with angels because of my experience in dogmatic Christianity. And the reason why I'm like, oh, that's interesting, there's no judgment to that observation, I just think it's interesting, is because angels are so present in the occult. All right. So, if we go all the way back to the history of magic, there's John Dee, right? John Dee was this contemporary of Elizabeth I, I believe. And John Dee was a magician who started communicating with these divine beings through scrying with a black mirror, I believe. I'm not a historian and I'm not like a researcher of the history of magic. So this is just like a brief overview, and do your own research if you're curious. And he created the Enochian language, which is this magical language that is used to communicate with what he felt was angelic energy. So that's in the history of magic. And then when it comes to ceremonial magic, high magic, most of that is really invoking the names of God in Hebrew and invoking angelic energy. There's a whole systems of magic that are systems of angelic magic, and different ways of calling in and invoking and using angelic energy, again, for purification rites, for healing rites, even for practical magic. So I want to share what I feel angels are. To me, angels are different emanations of source consciousness. And I think in the book Angels and Archangels, which I'm going to read a tiny little excerpt from in a little bit, this is by Damien Eccles. This is my favorite book on angels and archangels. I'm a Damien Eccles fangirl. I don't know if I've shared that before, but I love Damien Eccles. To me, he really has a way of describing magic and describing the purpose of magic and really breaking down ceremonial magic in a way that is practical and makes sense, like more than any other author or teacher on this topic. I think he's the foremost magician of our generation. So if you want to know who my mentor is, I won't work with him closely, but when I'm doing ceremonial magic, I'm doing it from the paradigm of Angels and Archangels and the other book he has, which is called High Magic. My view of angels is that angels are emanations of source consciousness, and that angels don't have human form at all. I've seen angels several times throughout my practice. One of my gifts is being able to see into the other side, and the energy that it's most easy for me to perceive is angelic energy, like with my naked eye. I have seen angels both on medicine journeys and just, in my day-to-day life with no plant medicine aid. And there's some angels that live in my house. There's some angels that hang out at my work. I'm a full-time, psychic medium, as you guys know. And so I work with this energy a lot. And angels don't have human form, and angels don't show up to me the way that deities show up to me. Deities seem to have a lot of wishes and personality, and angels more feel like, I think Damien Eccles ascribes them as like computer programs, binary intelligence. They don't have free will. I see them as a little more patterned and conscious, but they're definitely not human. They feel very different. And when we're invoking an angel, we are invoking basically the consciousness of an energy or an attribute of source, right? So the Archangel Michael is the part of source, is the part of higher intelligence that rules over our will, that can protect us. Okay? Archangel Gabriel is the emanation or the energy of source that rules over the moon, lunar consciousness, and also prophecy and intuition and dreams and receptivity and messages. So it's like angels are a part of the whole, just like we are a part of the whole. And because we have source inside of us and we carry source, and angels are these emanations and these programs of source, we can actually command them, not like in a domineering way, but we can actually say, I call on this energy for this, and it will be effective. So the difference to me between working with a deity and working with an angel is that working with a deity, it's more of coming into a reciprocal relationship of, here is an offering, how can I serve you? There's more of this feeling of, how can I honor you? How can I serve you? And with angels, angels are more like, how can they serve us? How can they assist us? Now, I wouldn't like mess with one. I wouldn't like work with an angel in an immoral way, because you're working with pure light, you're working with pure source, and angels are really terrifying. Just like the Rainier Maria Rilke poem, right? Angels are imminent. Angels are awful. They hearken awe. And there has been times where an angelic presence has like swept into the room. First of all, they look like biblically accurate angels. They look like all of these like binary hieroglyphic floating codes. You know, different angels have to take different forms of me, but they never show up as a human in a white robe, right? They show up as these giant looming like sacred geometry fractaled pieces that live in higher dimensions. Like they're these beings, these energies that even when I'm seeing them, I know I'm seeing them in a reduced form, and they're still like, ugh, there's a lot. It can be a lot. Not always, but it can be. And angels also, because they don't have really personality, they'll do exactly what we have asked them to do, what we have programmed them to do. And so when you're making a deal with an angel, it's really important that you're clear with your intention. You know, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just, it's things that can assist you in your journey with angelic magic. You know, and helping to break angels out of this mold of reductive love and light. Because I think that working with angelic energy, for me, has been one of the most profound shifts in my own magical practice. It's when I started incorporating angelic energy more. Okay, so I'm just going to read you a bit from 2 sentences from Damien Eccles' book. He says, the ultimate goal of working with angels is to become one ourselves. As we work with the intelligence we call angels, angels are source intelligence, okay? We gradually align our will with the universal will, moving in greater harmony with the source of all creation and assisting in the spiritual evolution of all humanity. So one of the benefits of working with angels consistently is we align with the part of us that is source consciousness. And as we align more and more and more with source consciousness, as we call in angelic energy more and more and more, a few things happen. The first thing that happens when we regularly work with angelic energy, and we're calling it in an effective way on a regular basis, is that our aura is purged and cleansed. It starts to raise our vibration, because angels are literally the frequency and vibration of the divine source, of the highest good, of the highest will. Angels only have the highest good of all as their sole intent. There's no other ulterior motive there. And so when we call in that energy and we call it into our being, and we do exercises like the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, what happens is we start to cleanse and unclog all of our channels, and we start to vibrate at a frequency where, like I said, when I'm working with angels a lot, when I am doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram every day, which I have been doing now for a bit, things that are no longer aligned with their highest good start to fall off. It's like everyone sees angels as love and light, but this can be a little bit of multivite energy. This can be a little bit of tower card medicine. Because all the low vibrational grimy stuff can't exist when we are constantly on a regular basis calling in the higher will, the higher good, higher energies of love and healing and light into our vessel. So we clear and unclog the channel. We clear our auric body. We clear our energy body. And we come into a better relationship with our ego. Because we are calling in source, we start to disconnect more and more and more with the ego consciousness. And, as Damien Eccles describes, the point of magic in Damien Eccles' mind, you can have your own opinion and understanding of this, but Damien Eccles says the whole point of becoming a magician or doing magic is to become an angel yourself. And someone who is totally in their angelic frequency, they don't have to incarnate again, right? They have fully shed the ego construct and they're fully aligned with their divine self. But that doesn't have to be your goal for working with angels. Maybe that seems like a lofty goal to completely end the cycle of reincarnation, right? And to fully shed your ego. That doesn't have to be your final goal for working with angels. Your final goal, or your goal at the time you work with angels, can just be, I want more peace in my life. I want more healing in my life. I don't want to struggle so much. I don't want to feel so much anxiety. And for me, working with angels is all about being empowered. Okay? Because think about it. If you really are a being with source inside of you, and you have the ability to invoke higher energies to create clearing, protection, change, and healing in your life, to not do so would not be to utilize all the power that you have. And to do so would be to step into a very powerful piece of yourself. And the more that you work with this energy, the more you'll come to understand it and believe in it, and you don't have to believe in it right in the beginning. So what are the differences between angels and archangels? Well, Damien Eccles says in his book, Angels and Archangels, the difference is that angels are just divine energy that we have named. And archangels there's more of a consciousness there. Is the consciousness that operates the energy. Now, I know you guys are going to ask what angels I work with, so I call in the 4 archangels every day. So that would be Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, and Uriel. Based on the directions I call them in where I'm standing. when I invoke the angels, and then I will call in Metatron and Sandalphon. I also work with the Archangel Haniel. I work with Azrael. I work with Sophia, who I see as an angelic energy. I work with Isis, who I see as an angelic energy and a divine feminine energy. And then there's other angels that I'll work with on a more temporary basis. Been working with Raziel recently, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing all these names. I'm just a white girl with a borderline Midwestern accent, even though I grew up in Seattle. Okay. So it's like, for me, I will use different angelic names and call in different angelic energies based on what workings I'm doing, or what I am currently trying to achieve or call in my life. And if you're looking for resources on different angels, I will share the decks that I use. If I am, trying to use divination and card work to kind of assess what angel is right, Or again, this is one of the most used books in my collection, Angels and Archangels. I think if you're wanting to work with angels in a more magical way and you really want these beings demystified and made accessible for you, this is a good place to start. Okay. So I think that that's where before I end, actually, I want to say that these are different ways in which we can work with angels. And I'll just explain if a few of those are, even though what I'm about to say goes so beyond that. But these are some ways that if you don't already, beginning to bring this in could assist you in your life. Okay, so the first thing is that like I have said several times in this video, I have started doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram every single day. After about a year of looking for something that actually works and shedding all of the energy from the readings I pick up, because I'm a very high volume reader, and nothing I was doing, and I was trying everything, was fully clearing my channel and bringing me into a place where I felt like I wasn't carrying my readings with me, or I wasn't having to do so much to purge out the energy I was picking up on. And I tried everything. Sacred smoke, ritual baths, herbs, crystals, spells. Okay? Nothing was quite working. And I finally surrendered and started doing the LBRB. Because I'm really stubborn and I want to do things my own way. And some of the ceremonial high magic stuff feels like a little patriarchal to me. It's like a bunch of men deciding it. And it's very rigid and structured. And I like to feel very free in my practice. So I would study and learn about it, but I didn't want to actually incorporate it in my day-to-day practice. So I finally surrendered. And I started doing the LBRP every day. And oh my God, the difference it makes. I feel like a new person doing it every day. And like my channel is so clear. I feel the most psychic I've ever felt. And I feel like the negative stuff just is not penetrating me as much. So, calling on the angels every day for protection and clearing your channel is something that you can do. Using angelic correspondences for your workings is something that you can do. Using angels, calling in angels, invoking angels that correspond to divination before you do card work. Calling in angels that assist in healing and self-knowledge before you journal. All right? Doing meditations and visualizations with angelic energy really before going into anything in your life. And this is what I've started to do. So before I go into work, I sit in my car and I say, Archangel Michael, please give me a pillar of blue light. And I visualize Archangel Michael and I visualize the blue light. And it's really interesting because I've been working a lot with Archangel Michael and I dyed my hair blue and I didn't even make the connection. And then I was getting a reading from one of my readers the other day and she was like, you're really connected to Archangel Michael right now. And I'm like, yes, duh. So now I have my Archangel Michael right here. And again, just knowing that these are energies that we can utilize for really anything in our life, as long as we come in from a place not of ego, but of connection to our higher self. Okay? Not to say that angels don't want to assist in practical magic, because practical desires we need to live our lives. Like we need money to pay our rent. We need food to eat. It's not like we can't use them for practical magic, but I would just caution you against, for greed and purposes of greed and revenge and matters of the ego, working with this energy could potentially get a little tricky for you, because we relate to them through our own source codes, through our own divinity. So, if you choose, if you are a part of the Patreon community and you choose, you can call in the energy that I channel in for you every day. of the month, or whenever you remember, or before you watch, one of our readings or one of our videos. And that can give you a little bit of insight into how utilizing this energy on a daily basis can really assist you. And a lot of the members in our Patreon group, I know that you feel really comfortable working with the energies of the divine feminine. And if that's where your comfort level lies, I totally get it. But I do think that there's benefit in opening up a little bit into the angelic world, because like I said, they serve different purposes. And there are angelic energies that are more feminine in nature. So if that's where your comfort lies, I would say working with Archangel Gabriel, working with Archangel Haniel, Hophiel, working with Sophia, working with Sandalphon. I feel like Sandalphon is a very feminine energy. And there's more there. Aniel. That's just, what's coming into my mind at the moment. Okay. So I will leave it here for now, because like I said, I don't want to overboard you with information. But within the next few days, probably on Monday or Tuesday of next week, I will post the decks that I use when I am, specifically looking to work with and channel angelic messages in the context of a reading, because I know you're going to be curious. And I will post the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram exercise if you want to do that with me. Just try it out even 1 or 2 times, if you feel called to. If you don't feel called to it, don't do it. And as this month progresses, we'll continue to really unpack this. And we'll be calling in this energy before we do the weekly readings, okay? So as always, I am sending you love, and I am wishing you well.